I'm Nick Lane, and with me is Kevin Manny, and this is How Do I Pinball's review of Stern's Iron Man. So we're going to go through and give a review of the game, and also we're going to give what we think is our individual verdict of Iron Man. So Kevin, why don't you start off by talking about just some basic facts about Stern's Iron Man.
Sure. Iron Man was released in 2010 by Stern Pinball. It was designed by John Borg. He's also done such games like Tron, which I personally own and love. He did Metallica and X-Men and Walking Dead, which are three really popular recent Sterns. But he's also had some misses in there too, like Striker Extreme and Big Buck Hunter 2, right? Which there's some debate as to whether or not that's a strikeout or not, but. It's definitely not as popular as some of these other games, but I owned a Striker Extreme and it was fun for a while. So the music on Iron Man was done by David Thiel and software by Lonnie Robb and Lyman Sheets, which Lyman is just known for amazing software and
Medieval Madness, Monster Bash, AC/DC, Metallica.
Yeah, a bunch of great games under his belt. So Iron Man was actually released as the first Vault Edition game ever from Stern. So this is a new thing they're trying out. When they kind of have a gap in their production line, or they see there's a built-up demand for a game, they'll pull it out of the vault and they'll re-release it and kind of fill some of that demand.
Yeah, so the game originally came out in 2010, and when it came out, it didn't sell well at all. The numbers that I've heard from it was maybe 1,000 was speculated. The game came out in March 2010. I got it in December 2010, and that was probably when the run ended. And even at that point in time, a lot of people didn't like Iron Man because it was a stripped-down game. It was missing a lot of maybe bells and whistles, the toys. It just felt cheap. And that was also because that when that game was being made, you got to keep in mind that the recession was in 2008. This game came out in 2010. So they're working on it when the economic climate is very uncertain. So you see a game where a lot of collectors are used to so many things being in the game, and then suddenly so many things are missing, right. From it.
And looking at the game, you would think, man, there's nothing going on in this game. But when you get into the software and you get into the rules, that's where it really shines.
Yeah, I mean, what happened with the Vault Edition? So it's January 2015 right now. The Vault Edition came out in the summer of 2014, but that's because the game, despite the initial look at it, it became popular among players, collectors. You would see this game in almost every Papa and Pinburg tournament.
Yeah,
tournament players love it.
It's a great tournament.
It's fast. It's brutal. Bowen Cairns actually said one time on Pinside, he was talking about what Stern games in the last few years you might have in your home, and he said Iron Man and AC/DC are the games to get.
Yeah.
So it really says a lot, and you would see that game just shoot up in value in the last couple of years before the Vault version came out. It was up to maybe $6,000 that it was selling for.
Yeah, because the demand was there. People wanted it. Nobody wanted to part with it because, Nick's had his since it came out, and he's not getting rid of it anytime soon. I don't want to give away any feelings about the ratings of the game, but, the people that get it, they like it a lot, and it stands the test of time from what I've seen.
Yeah, I'm totally biased, and that's why Iron Man's the first one we're going to review. So let's start off by going and talking about just the art in the game.
Sure. This was, like you said, this was during the time when Stern was, they were very thin on resources. They didn't have a Dirty Donnie doing artwork like Metallica. So it's got kind of that, they call it a Photoshop cut and paste kind of. It's got the actors on the playfield and stuff. But, it's Iron Man, so it's cool. Yeah. It's got like CGI rendition of Iron Man on the back glass. The cabinet itself, especially on the Vault Edition, is really nice. It's got like this kind of foil look to it, right?
Yeah, the Vault Edition, the cabinet really shines on that because it does have that foil look to it. The cabinet itself is not bad. I mean, Iron Man's featured on it. It's not great. It's not bad. It kind of gets the job done. Mm-hmm. I like the back glass. Personally, it's exactly what they used for one of the movie posters, I think, for Iron Man 2. So, again, maybe that's because it just had stripped resources, but it works. It's not overloaded with actors like, take Batman the Dark Knight. A lot of people were complaining about that. A lot of people were complaining about Stern's Indiana Jones because it had a lot of actors that was Photoshopped. This is a clean-looking movie poster, so
right.
It's good and it works.
Yeah, we're not talking, Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger's giant head on the back. You know what I mean?
Right. It's got a clean look to it. What about the playfield? How do you feel about that?
Well, like I said, it's got kind of that Photoshop copy-paste look, but I think it's nice. It's colorful. There's a lot of blue and reds going on. The one thing that I find kind of weird, and I know the reason behind this, is that on the playfield itself, it'll say spell Iron Man for fast scoring right when you're playing, but it doesn't actually say IRONMAN on any of the targets. But from what I've heard, that's because the license holder said you can't separate iron and man on the play field. So there's actually like little stand-up pictures of Iron Man instead of actually spelling out the letters, which is a little counterintuitive, I think.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I like the playfield a lot. It's not littered with actors. There's some on there. I mean, like Scarlett Johansson, Samuel Jackson's on there, but it's not. You're not just bombarded with them.
Yeah, kind of the one everybody talks about when they talk about this is Transformers, right? Where it's just got all the characters going up the playfield, and that's just like basically all you see on that game.
Yeah. So I think it gets it done.
It's okay. It's not the best. It's not a Metallica, but it's not bad.
Yeah. No, the DMD. This is when the DMD was split up. So you have the scoring on the left side, and the other side has kind of the animations that are going on. And I say animations, but some of it's actually video clips from the movie. And it's on a DMD. It's grainy. A lot of people don't like that. I think maybe the worst example of using video on the DMD is Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
People really seem to despise that. I don't think it's terrible in Iron Man. In fact, there's some sequences in the game that's good. So when you're in bogey mode and he's kind of flying through the air, I think that actually shows up very well on it. And then some you just don't have any clue what's going on in the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got a Tron that's the same way. I tend to prefer the hand done dots. You look at even a game like Avengers that he's kind of universally panned. It's got awesome dots. I love looking at the dots on that game. So I think again it was a cost cutting thing. They could run some movie clips through the DMD translation software and get it out without having to pay somebody to program dots. But I think it gets the job done, and it's an accurate representation of the movie. It's just it'd be nice if there was a little more resolution there.
Yeah, it doesn't shine, but it gets the job done. I think that's what you say about it.
Right.
Okay, let's go to sound, because I think the sound in the game's amazing. It's easily one of my favorite pinball games, sound-wise. I think what I really like about it is that David Thiel used most of the music from the movies are in the pinball game rather than creating custom music for it. And that, to me, that's a remarkable choice, because the music in the first movie is very well done. And you really get a sense from the movie when you're playing that game. And he could have done custom music, but that was such a good choice because it really ties the movie into the pinball machine. Just thinking off the top of my head, there might be one song that's custom, and that might be for Whiplash. I don't recognize that from the movie. The sounds are great as well.
Yeah, I mean that's the benefit of having the license, right? People always talk about licensed pins. I want a custom theme.
Yeah.
But when you have this license, you have all these resources and assets that come with it.
Exactly.
Stern's not going to be able to bring in an orchestra and record music to create a pinball machine. But when they get the license, they get all this great music, and Nick's got it set up with an external subwoofer, and that thing shakes when you're playing, and it's great.
I mean, if you're an Iron Man owner, by all means, grab a subwoofer. You can get them on Amazon for, sometimes there's deals for like $60, $70. That will get the job done.
Yep.
Add also a shaker motor into the game, and it is just amazing at times. The game kind of crescendos at the right moment with the music as it pulses up and gets kind of faster pace, and there's a lot going on, a lot of scoring opportunities. I think just sound alone, that's a 10 in that department.
Yeah, I agree. The sound is really good on that game, and you've got the clips from all the actors are in there, and it's not like The Walking Dead where you got some hillbilly in there that doesn't really relate to what you're actually playing. You're like, who's this guy? They got the real call outs from the movie, and they fit in there well.
Yeah, you hear a lot of Jeff Bridges. So if you're a Jeff Bridges fan, you like the dude. You like Tron. There you go. You're gonna hear a lot of him.
You could have the trilogy of Jeff Bridges pins.
Yeah. The funny thing is, Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man is not on that game at all. He's not on the playfield. He's not on the plastics. He's not on the cabinet itself. He does. I mean, you hear his voice once in a while, but it's
I'm
not
sure
like
it was a money issue. That would be my guess.
Not that that's a bad thing, but there's a lot of humor in the movie,
right? Yeah.
And the funny thing is, there's not really any humor in the game itself.
Yeah, it's pretty serious.
They probably could have put that in.
You get a little from Jeff Bridges, and he's like, "Where are you going?" When Ironmonger comes up and stuff. So there's a little bit of that, but there could have been a lot more with Robert Downey Jr. for sure.
So speaking of which, when the Ironmonger comes up, let's talk about toys in the game, because toys are always important in pinball games, at least ones from the 90s on up.
All right. Well, so when you say a toy in a pinball machine, what is that?
So that's a good question. What is a toy?
It's kind of inside lingo. It's like, do I have an action figure in here? Or,
It's usually some kind of gimmick.
Right.
So one toy that is very popular that comes to mind is Addams Family. In that pinball machine from the early 90s, there's actually a hand that comes out and grabs the ball.
Right.
That's a toy, it's a gimmick. It's not needed for gameplay per se, but it's kind of that cool
it's
wow
a
factor
wow
moment.
Yeah. On Dracula here, it's when you start missing multi-ball and the ball starts floating across the playfield, right? And it's like, whoa, what is that? And I want to go and I want to do that again. I want to put some more money in the machine and make it happen again.
So it's basically a standard now. What's the toy in the game, and is it cool? Is it something that haven't been done before? I think that's important as well. The main toy in Iron Man is this Ironmonger figurine that you could have gone to the store and buy right off the shelf. I swear to God, I think they just went to Walmart and loaded up the grocery carts. He comes out of the center of the playfield, and it's actually, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, even after 4 years of having it, people complain about the idea of a bash toy, right? So it's a doll, and you just hit it with a pinball machine, but he's kind of cool, and he's got a magnet right in front of him. So you hit him, the magnet will grab it. Sometimes it'll just fire it right down between the flippers. It'll fire around the playfield. I've seen it thrown behind him. It's unpredictable. It actually seems like he's fighting you when he's up.
Right. And when, before he comes up, he starts glowing under the playfield. So he's like, when he's
Uh-huh.
ready to go, it's looming, and you're like, oh, I just got one more shot to hit to bring him up.
He's got a nice little entrance.
Exactly.
The whole
He's
game
like a
shuts
wrestler,
down.
you know what
It
I mean?
holds, holds the ball. The lights are flashing. If you got a shaker motor, that thing's shaking.
Yeah.
I think anytime I have somebody who's over, doesn't play pinball, never played that game before, and when that moment happens, there's just like this expression on their face. What is going on?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's like, it's those easy things that you can make something big happen in a machine. It doesn't take a whole lot to get him up there.
Yeah.
But once he's up, to hit him enough times to get multi-ball started, that's where the challenge really starts to come in, right?
Yeah. So what other toys are in the game, would you say? Is that it?
That's about it. I mean, you got 3 spinners in the game, which I think is like, compared to modern Sterns, where a Pro, you're not going to get any spinners in it. Metallica doesn't have one.
Right.
Walking Dead doesn't have one. 3 is kind of, they're like flaunting it. Like, put the extra one right in the middle here.
And that's right before they had these LE premium models. I mean, that was it. It's almost like Iron Man's almost like a Pro because it's so stripped down in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, there was the classic Iron Man.
There was, we won't even talk about. Maybe I don't even know if we want to discuss that.
Just be careful when if you're thinking about buying an Iron Man. They did make a version for the home. I believe it doesn't even have a coin door on it.
No,
it's very stripped down. So that's not the one you want.
Don't buy that. You'll have a hard time selling it if you get that.
Yeah.
I would say that the Monger's the only toy.
The magnets, maybe.
There's another magnet. There's a Whiplash doll. He's from the second movie. I mean, he doesn't do anything. He's kind of in the background, but he's got a magnet. So when you hit him and hit his targets, he'll throw it around. There's
the War Machine kickback.
Yeah, there's a doll War Machine. You hit the ball in there, it will fire it right back at you, sort of like in F-14,
right,
from the late '80s. That game, you hit it will fire right back at you. That's always a surprise. I think it catches people off guard.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it makes the game brutal because what I've heard other people say is that it's like you're fighting the machine. The machine's fighting back at you too. Right, everything you do is coming right back at you.
Yep.
Which that brings us nicely into talking about layout and gameplay.
Yeah. So Nick's going to be the master on this because it's his first machine. You've had it 4 years, 5 years?
Had it 4 years, yeah.
So I know the basics. I know you hit the spinners enough times. The Ironmonger will come up. You hit him enough times to spell out Monger. That'll start a multi-ball. You can, I don't know. I'll let you take it from here.
Well, I mean, the layout's pretty basic. You have 2 flippers. You have 2 ramps. It's a fan layout, and I don't know if it's a criticism per se, but people will compare that to Austin Powers, which is a Stern game from the early 2000s. It's not a well-rated game. It's not a well-liked game.
Right.
I never see it in anybody's collection. I've played it a few times and I'm not impressed with it. And if you look at both playfields, they do look very similar. I mean, essentially, Stern copied that Austin Powers and turned it into Iron Man with some differences. The funny thing is, the games play nothing alike. I mean, Iron Man's a great game. Austin Powers is forgettable. And that's layout-wise. And the gameplay is short ball times, just absolutely brutal. Everything you hit, every shot, I swear to God, it comes right back at you. Yeah. There's a lot of stand-up targets that come back at you. There's the magnets. There's the kickback. That game is just designed to drain really quickly. And to be honest, that's what I really like about it. And what I've found is that new players like Iron Man, they gravitate towards that. Of any game that I've had in my collection, that's the game that seems to be played the most, and also experienced players like it. Mm-hmm. And what I personally like about it and having Iron Man in my collection is that I can play Iron Man with a new player. And what I mean by that is that the ball times are so short that I can go and play it, And they're not going to get bored. They're not going to wander in the other room or say, let's forget about pinball, because I'll be over in maybe sometimes 20 seconds or at worst maybe a minute or two, I feel like, on that game.
Yeah, it's not like when you're playing The Sopranos and they go off and take a nap while you're on your first ball, because that's just a long playing game, or something like Lord of the Rings that the ball times are longer and the rule sets are deeper. I think that's the great part about a game like Iron Man, is that it's got that great like one more time factor to it. Like Nick and I have both gotten EMs recently, and they're very similarly. They keep you coming back. They're not real deep. But they're super fun to play. The objectives are more obvious than some of the more complex games, and that's what makes them fun.
I wish I came up with this expression, but I've heard Iron Man called like an EM on steroids, because it's a kind of simple layout, but the ball times are so short because it's so quick and brutal that you can have that EM experience with it, and you can play with beginning players. I love Lord of the Rings. It's a great game. I don't know if I'll ever own it, just because I can never play it with a lot of other players. Being an experienced pinball player just wouldn't be fun. But Iron Man, you can do that all day long, so it's great for any kind of skill level.
Yep, agreed.
Okay, let's talk about the rules a little bit. I think you touched upon it. I mean, you mentioned when you were talking about gameplay, is that it's a simple game.
Yeah.
Rule wise, there's not much to it. Which is, honestly, it's kind of a surprise, because Lyman Sheets was the designer, but I think what's playing into this, to some extent, is that what's going on at Stern at the time, maybe they didn't have the resources to dedicate to really making deep rules, but it's also, I think, a philosophy switch, where Gary Stern's talked about this, I don't know if you heard this, where maybe two designers were playing pinball in between, working, and like one person would go in and come out 20 minutes later, the other person would go in, but then they were playing like an EM together.
Okay.
Right? And they would just stand side by side, because you can't walk away when somebody's playing EM. The turn could be over like that.
Okay.
So I think in keeping with that kind of quick gameplay, they wanted kind of more basic rules that somebody can step up to and really understand. They didn't want a Twilight Zone, right? They didn't want this complex machine.
Right.
So I think that plays into it. But for me, I don't think it's... We'll talk about some problems, but I don't think it's the game is done. I don't really think it's missing too much. What about you?
I've never played the game and felt like it was missing something. And you gotta consider too that Stern is not only appealing to us as like people that have these things in their houses, but also the arcade owners and the people that have it on location. So this is a great game for them, because Nick can go in there, I can go in there, and we're getting beat down. We keep putting money in it. And that's what they want. They want these things to earn money, and they want a game it's fun to play, keeps earning money, and keeps pulling it in quickly. So I think Iron Man achieves that.
Yeah, you have some cool things in it. Not to say that they're simple, that there's not strategy involved, because there is strategy involved. One of which is just stacking multi-balls. So it seems that when you're playing pinball, you want to get multi-ball right, and you want to start as soon as possible. But on a game like Iron Man, it's beneficial to wait to start multi-balls together. So there's the Ironmonger multi-ball, which you can't stack, but there's Whiplash, and then there's War Machine. So you might not want, you might start War Machine, and then during War Machine you want to focus on bringing Whiplash in. It's things like that. It's timing, it's deciding when to start a multi-ball, what multi-ball to start off first. So even though the rules are basic and you don't need a huge book to kind of understand how to play, there's still that thinking, there's still that strategy element to it, which keeps it at least engaging enough.
It's what makes pinball great is that risk reward, rules where I can just go and I can start one multi-ball at a time, two multi-balls, one after the other. But if I stack them up and take that risk and trying to get them both going at the same time, then my reward's going to be exponentially larger points. Now,
there's some problems with the rules that I don't even know if Kevin's, who doesn't have the game and doesn't play it as much as I do, if he's aware of it. And I don't think they fixed it. One glaring rule problem in my book is that there's a mode. It's after the wizard mode, it's called Do or Die Multi-Ball. And that is absolutely impossible to get. I will never get Do or Die Multi-Ball. Just the things that you have to do to achieve it are just so far-fetched that I don't know. People talk on Pinside like there's this one guy who might have done it this one time, right? And maybe he's playing on 5 balls. It's that kind of deal. I'm a good pinball player. I'm not going to be able to do it. And I think the problem with it is not that it's just supposed to be hard. It just wasn't polished. The rules weren't polished. The game's done. Yeah. I doubt they're going to go back for it. It didn't sell well at the time. So it's just kind of this extra wizard mode or part of the wizard mode that's in there that no one's ever going to see. So I would love if they would go back and fix that, but it's doubtful.
Yeah.
I mean, there's minor things. I mean, the skill shot is a complete joke in that game. It's laughably simple.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say to that. I mean, it's just you plunge the ball. There's 2 lanes you can follow. You just pick the one right lane, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no super skill shot. There's no holding down the left flipper and looping around or doing something.
It would be nice to have a super skill shot in that game. I've thought a couple times. I'm like, you know, why can't you just, for something a little bit different? A lot of the starting to get away from that. You see it with Walking Dead; they have the rollover lane.
Sure, right. There's something there, right?
For
something
the last, the previous like 5 or so games, they always hit the rollover lane, and that's kind of where they were at. But now they're starting to get a little more creative.
It's so basic. You almost ask why they even have a skill shot in the game to begin with,
Right.
and it's a glaring problem. I think to me, it doesn't ruin the game, but you can't help but notice it.
For sure.
And there's some other nitpick. I think like you can start like double scoring. And then you can start like Jericho, which is one of the wizard modes, but the timer will keep on ticking. And normally in games, when you're starting something, there's an introduction to a mode that will stop the timer. It's just these little polish points that if somebody were to go back in and spend a little time, they can really get that game tightened up and dare I say, perfect.
Yeah. And there you see, Nick's played it a heck of a lot more than I have, and I haven't seen half of that stuff. So, and even if I did, I wouldn't have done it enough to know the difference.
So what I would consider some of the most important thing when talking about a pinball machine, talking about art, sound, layout, toys, all that stuff, is it fun? Is it fun to play, right? You can have a beautiful looking machine, you can have the coolest toys, you can have what looks to be a good layout, but at the end of the day, if it's not fun, why are you even bothering to have the pinball machine or play it, right? What do you think? As a non-owner, as somebody who comes over and plays once in a while, played in tournaments.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, absolutely. It's what I like more and more in pinball machines. The more I play, it's that quick get in, get out, play it.
Yeah.
It might be brutal, but that's what I like. That's fun about it.
Well, why don't you have an Iron Man?
Well, I got a Tron. That's filling the void.
There you go.
Another John Borg design, but yeah, definitely high on the fun factor.
Yeah. So I mean, as you said, I've had the game for 4 years. I've not been tempted to sell it. It's still fun to this day. I can start it up and just get that fun that I had like the first time I ever played the game. It's very addicting. There's almost an adrenaline rush. There's no other way to say it sometimes, as you're kind of just getting close to that do or die wizard mode, and you're building everything up, and then you just fail at the end. And you're like, oh my god, I was so close. And it doesn't even take that long to get there.
Yeah, it's that feeling of, oh, if I had just done this, then I could have got it. And then you go back and you try it.
And then you do it again.
I could do that. Yeah.
You just hit that start button, and like, an hour has passed, and you're like, oh my god, what did I just do?
Played 20 games of this.
Exactly. And it's fun. It evokes a feeling while you're playing it. It's the music is pounding. Yeah, I think it's one of the most fun games that I can think of.
All right, so lay it on the line. What would you rate it? Score out of 10. Where's
I'm going to ask you first, because I think it's pretty obvious how I feel about that game.
Okay. If you look on Pinside and you look on IPDB, it's rated right around an 8, and I think that's about right. I would rate it probably about an 8 out of 10. It's not. I don't know. Depending, there's so many variables to rating a pinball machine. It's the artwork, it's the sound, it's the gameplay, it's all that. If it had like some awesome like comic book art on it, hand drawn comic book art, that would knock it up another notch. Or there's little things that you could do to make it better. But I think 8.5 out of 10 is where I'd put it.
Okay. All right, we're doing the points. I can do the points.
Are we doing half?
Yeah, we can do that. You make up the rules.
All right.
What is it even on Pinside? Is it like even in the top 30? I know it's been hovering maybe like.
I think I just looked it up. Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
Right, you talk and I'll figure it out.
Okay, so. I mean, the rating bugs me on Pinside because I think it's such a better game than what it really is.
It's number 28 on Pinside.
Number 28, okay. And it's been there, I think, since I got the game. I think one of my first reviews, like, this game was going to be in the top 20, and I was wrong. I don't know. I'm shocked, but...
Well, new games come out, and all the owners want to push the price up, right? So they all get a great rating, and then they settle down in there. So
I think it's a testament to how awesome the game is, the fact that Stern ran it, and that was the first Vault edition, that this is a great game, and it seems to be going up in popularity still. I think there's still a climb to it. For me, it's a 9 out of 10. I don't even know if I have a game that's a 10 because it's hard to find what's a perfect game. And the only thing that really holds me back on Iron Man, other than, I mean, there is some cheapness to it. It would be nice if there's some more quality to it, maybe steel ramps, right? Things like that. I'm not going to let that affect me so much because I'm mostly focused on how fun it is and how it's lasted for 4 years. And then the rules. I think the rules just need some polish, and that's what really keeps it from being like a 9.5 or a 10 even. But yeah, it's a keeper for me.
Yeah,
so.
Great game, highly recommended. Drop some quarters in it in your arcade. If you got to trade a couple games for it, go for it. You know, I have the luxury of playing it over here, and there's a location nearby that's got one, so that's how I get my fix.
And check it out. We're going to be doing a tutorial of Iron Man in the near future.
Yep.
And we'll show you how to play the game.
So thanks for tuning in. This is our first review. If you like it, give us a like on this video. Subscribe to our channel. Visit howdoipinball.com for even more reviews and ways to improve your game.
And if there's a game that you want Kevin and I to review, send your suggestions in. No guarantees, but we'll do our best to accommodate.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for watching.